Okay, so we've covered our basics of setting up Instagram, setting up your business, setting up your logo, setting up your brand, setting up your content, your hashtags, your TikTok platforms. Now, we're going to talk about what happens when things don't go as planned. We've got our Instagram, we've got our TikTok set up, we already have your website, you have your menus for your restaurant, your salon is up and running, and things are not going so well. This has happened before to many people. You may need to change your strategy. You may need to change your business. You may have to close shop, but that's not what we're about. What we're about is survival. So what happens? I've had clients that have come to me and they said their social media wasn't working. Why wasn't it working? Why wasn't it bringing in customers? Was it your food? And this is where the consultation comes in on my end that I happen to do in Bali. But you can do this yourself. If you have a restaurant and people are not coming in, you're doing everything right, your food is great, and you have just lack of traffic, it could be your location. But it could also be your menu. It could also be your clientele. It could be the pandemic. Point is, things may not always go as planned. So while we always have to have a plan, and I really preach a yearly plan on everything, so you have your holidays covered, you don't miss anything, you're prepared for Christmas, New Year's, Easter, Lebaran, whatever holiday it may be, a New Year's Eve party, a Christmas party, or whatever that may be, you have to have it covered. You have to have your special menus. That comes into business planning. But in our social media plan, we have to be ready to turn on a dime. We have had work with restaurants where the content was great to begin with. After that, it got a little bit stale. It was repetitive. So you may have an initial draw of people, and after that, it dies off. And you wonder why. Well, maybe your restaurant has more competition. Maybe there's somebody that opened up next door. You have to look at the big picture. But in most cases, if you deliver a good product and good content, people will come and see you. And this is very, very important in this field. The reason I'm saying this is, again, I'm based in Bali. And Bali, Indonesia, depends on foot traffic, literally, people coming in, walking on the road, and walking into your place. But before they just walk into that place, they will check online where they're walking to and what restaurant and what kind of food they want. Same thing goes for Airbnb, which I also help with. And what happens is, Bali is not that small, and there's a lot of remote places. But when marketed to properly, people will go to very remote places and still make sure that those places are booked fully because their marketing is working. Now, this is slightly different because we're going into property. But the key here is that even though that property may be miles away, kilometers away from the hotspot of the city, people are going out to those properties and those restaurants even because it becomes a point of interest. They may have a very Instagrammable swing. They may have a very Instagrammable heart that people take pictures with the best view in Bali. They have a unique selling point. And if your restaurant or your location is starting to dwindle, this is something we have to look at. And again, it comes down to planning. Because if we planned a certain amount of content, and we know the content is right, but it's being delivered in the wrong way, maybe the music, maybe the host is just not as likable as we thought they were, we have to get ready for a plan. Now, normally we plan everything for a year, but we only shoot content for about a month. And that is because sometimes there's a menu change, it could be an ownership change. It could be the fact that there's a new owner for the restaurant and they want to do something differently. You don't want to go from a best ribs in town to a vegan restaurant without knowing that you're going to have vegan customers, or without knowing that you are going to be able to attract those customers. And sometimes it takes a lot of money. But most of the things I tend to focus on is the free stuff. After that, we can always buy ads. We can buy ads for any single platform. But when things don't go right, we know we have to change. And this is where our monthly content comes in. We make content for a month, we shoot it. We see how it performs. You have to go back and analyze the posts, the songs, the people. Why did this content work and why did this content not work? And then the next month, we try and repeat the content that works so we gain more and more traction. And this is where small businesses have to think like big businesses. We're not Nike, we're not McDonald's. But we have to have a plan as if we are. We have to have a plan. You are your business owner. You are one of everything. You could be cleaning the toilets. You could be cooking. You could be, hopefully not at the same time, and you could be running the bar. You could be running cash. You could be running all kinds of things. But you also have to be in charge of your social media, and you have to analyze it. If you don't have time to analyze it, you're doing something wrong in your business, because you have to have time to do these things. Today, everything depends on social media, and you have to do it. So if things are not working, we have to go back and backtrack. How about if your logo looks like, you're a veterinary clinic instead of a hair salon? How about, your burger that doesn't quite look like a burger in your logo? These things you have to sort of look at as the big picture. So analyze the business. Hopefully it's not your logo, it's not your brand. So let's look at the social media aspect. If your social media is not being pushed in the right direction, maybe your hashtags are wrong, maybe you're just not appealing in your videos or in your content. So take a look at what things can go wrong. Now, in this part we're covering what could go wrong, but in reality, if you're watching all these videos, this part of the business is also part of the very first, the second, and the third part, because we have to make sure all those things are right before we get to the problem parts. Hopefully you don't get to this part. But if you do, go back and analyze all the steps we've taken. You may want to change from very romantic music to a very fun, upbeat songs in your videos, because your lame music that you picked originally is not attracting the young, hip crowd. That could be it. Maybe your hairstylist that you thought was great on camera is very unlikable. Maybe your waitresses that you put on camera are not the people that should be there. And maybe you have to spend some money on some professional influencers to come in, and they have to do some content for you and learn from them. So these are all aspects to our social media, up to the point of where it's working and where it's not working. Not working means we have to go back and analyze. And analysis is actually fun. Go back, look at the numbers, go back, look at the videos, and see what you can come up with and why things are hitting and why things are not hitting. And it is actually a lot of fun. Look at those numbers, look at your peaks, look at your highs, look at your lows, and look at when people started following you and unfollowing you. Maybe you said something politically incorrect. Maybe you said something that didn't jive with them. So look at all the content, analyze, and rebuild. And look at it sooner rather than later. Again, social media is a daily thing. You know how many people have looked at your videos. People know how many likes you've got, how many comments you've got. So as you're doing your content, you also have to do analysis before you get to this part. So hopefully you're watching all this before you actually started your business, and you have slight insight on what we're doing, or you're looking at this content saying, I need to go back and really check what I'm doing. But hopefully you're doing this before you started the business, and you can analyze all this as you're going along. So don't forget, part 1, 2, 3, 4, all the setting up comes to this point where you're going to fail. And at some point, we're all going to fail. But hopefully, we can fix all that prior to actual failure. Not every post I make is brilliant. Not every post you make will be a hit. You will get likes, maybe even bad comments. But the point is that you got to stay on top of it. So you've got the algorithm working for you or not working for you. And this is what you have to analyze, is what's working and what's not working. So stay tuned for further information, but don't forget to go back and look at the other videos that we've got so that you can also do your analysis and try and pre-plan all this content with the best possible effort that you could possibly make or afford. And let the algorithms work for you as opposed to working against you. And remember, if you've got a smile on your face and you're delivering content in a happy, positive manner, it will always be much more attractive than a grumpy, sad person delivering content, no matter what business that is. So stay tuned.